Hello, I'm Morgan Jeffery and I'm the TV editor for the website Digital Spy. It's a really tough one because I do love all the different incarnations of the Doctor, but I think if I had to pick one, it would probably be the second Doctor, just because he's got a good balance. You know, he clowns around and he's fun. He'd be fun to travel through time and space with. But then, you know, he can go pretty dark at times. You know, when there's monsters to be fought, he gets the job done. So I'd feel quite safe with Patrick Troughton as well. So I think I'd pick him. It's a slightly odd pick. I think I'd pick someone like Harry Sullivan, Tom Baker's companion, just because he's kind of like just a regular guy, kind of chipper chap who just kind of muddles his way through time and space and doesn't quite take to traveling across the universe quite as well as some people might. And I kind of feel like I'd be a bit like that. I'd be a bit bumbling and a bit useless if I was a Doctor Who companion, so I'd say probably Harry. I was always very scared of the Cybermen. I always found them far scarier than the Daleks. I think just because, you know, the Daleks will show up and they'll kill you, and obviously that's scary. But what I found really chilling about the Cybermen was the idea that they could take your humanity away, or take away the humanity of your friends and family, and that would be stolen away, and that's really quite chilling. So I think Cybermen, I'd go for them. I remember, I think it was in 1993, and they repeated Genesis of the Daleks, but I only remember one scene, which is Davros saying to the captive Doctor, "You will tell me," and it was the cliffhanger, and I remember that. But the first full story I ever saw was Spearhead from Space, I think, in 1999, and that's why I think I still really love the 70s and the John Pertwee era, because that was the first proper story I watched, and that's what really got me into Doctor Who. This is a really odd pick, but I absolutely love the Aztecs from, I think it's like 1964. It's an old sort of black and white William Hartnell story. But I've just kind of got a bit of a routine that I do when it's raining outside. I cook a pizza and I just kind of get under the bed covers and I put on the Aztecs. And I love that story because it's got kind of humor and intrigue and danger. And I love the original 60s TARDIS crew, so it's a bit of an odd pick, but I'd go for the Aztecs. See, lots of people probably say this, but I think I'd go back to, say, 60s London and go see the Beatles or something like that, or maybe like the 70s and go and see David Bowie. I know a lot of people say they'd want to see the future, but the future kind of scares me a little bit just because you don't know what to expect from the future. We know what happened in the past, obviously. The future, I'd be worried that I'd jump 200 years into the future and the Earth would just be gone. It just, the Earth had exploded or something. So I'd play it safe and go back into the past. Other than Doctor Who, the other thing I'm a massive fan of is James Bond movies. And I think that's quite interesting because there are a few parallels to Doctor Who. You've got, it's essentially the same character, but there's different actors bringing their own take to the part. And, that franchise keeps regenerating itself much like Doctor Who. So I think that's probably why I like both of those. It's one central idea, but you get to see lots of people's different takes on that one idea.